definitely something very weird going on here.
Detective Roger Mortis has a problem. He's dead. But Detective Bigelow is bringing him back alive.
That's okay. Don't get up. Told you not to get up.
Now, he's got 12 hours to solve the toughest murder case of his career.
Get down!
His own.
That's it. From now on, I'm a vegetarian.
How do you fight this thing?
Maybe we could drown it in A1 sauce.
Treat Williams
Sit down.
and Joe Piscopo are dead heat. You can't keep a good cop dead.
Oh my God, we are back for another episode of Grindhouse Chic. As always, I am Robert Schneider, and I am joined, as always, by Matthew Armstrong and Brian Baldwin. Guys, how is your week going?
Good so far. I got a appointment scheduled to get my wisdom teeth torn out for next week. So
Ooh.
Good news.
Congratulations.
Thanks. They've been bothering me for like 3 years. So
Oh God.
I
Well,
guess
then,
it's
yeah,
just
definitely
time.
congratulations.
yeah.
Yeah, get rid of those things.
So yeah, highlight of my week.
Well, we got new living room furniture. Adulting. Felt good to get some stuff in the house that isn't dumpy ass hand-me-downs, which we were grateful for. But we're glad to have recliners that actually recline, and you can sit on any section of the couch you want without fear of it falling apart. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I need to buy a new couch because I still have the one that I inherited.
Yeah.
But it's comfortable, so there's no point in getting rid of it.
See, ours weren't, and it's like it looked just like I don't even know what to compare it to. Nothing we had matched. And I'm one of those people like where that shit really drives me insane. So every time I would come home, it's like, oh, I'm so glad to be home. Then I walk in, I just go into like anxiety of like our this looks like shit. I can't get comfy.
Robert, if you're gonna do the videos from your couch, I'm thinking bright red leather.
No.
No, he wants you in bright red leather. The couch is fine.
Maybe I don't know. So before we get to the meat of today's show, I want to read a text that you sent at 1:06 a.m. Brian Baldwin.
Oh God! Don't even tell me.
Got around to watching Beware the Children last night. Has to have been the only time Lars von Trier was influenced by a film and decided to dial it back. Currently giving House of the Devil a rewatch. So far, it's been a great weekend. I consider myself a student of film, and as much as I hate Lars von Trier, I've seen almost all of his movies, and I can't figure out the one you're talking about.
I was referring to that one scene in House that Jack built.
Gotcha.
Do you know what I'm talking about? I don't want to spoil it if no one's seen it,
I vaguely know what you're talking about, but this is my imitation of me during every Lars von Trier's movie, except for The Idiots. I have so much hope, and then I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Why? Dogma 95 is not a good film movement, and Lars von Trier's you break every rule that you set up with the Dogma 95 movement in your films. So fuck you, and fuck you for making.
No, I mean, albeit, just loose reference, but that was just the first thing I thought about with children being killed. We talk about that a lot here, don't we?
Well,
it's a hot topic.
There's a whole. I mean, there's.
Let me rephrase that. I talk about it a lot.
There's a whole subgenre of killer kids movies.
Mm-hmm.
Out of all of them, and one day we are going to sit down and talk about Beware the Children. That one makes no fucking sense whatsoever.
No, it doesn't. It was so much fun. I thought, at least.
It was a totally fun movie, but we should talk about that at a later date and give our
Sure.
in-depth reaction to it. Let's talk about the new releases, the April 1st new releases. And I'm going to admit, I thought Death Wish 2 was a joke at first.
Yeah, I thought it was a weird one. I opened it and that was the first image I saw, and I was just kind of like, Death Wish 2? What? I mean, it's a weird one. I don't know. I don't get it, but it's, maybe it's like we were talking about before, that they're just kind of scooping up all these Shout and Scream Factory titles, and that their rights have run out and re-releasing them maybe.
I've actually never watched the Death Wish movies, but like my dad was one of those guys. Like when I was growing up, we had like a bookcase. It was just full of all these VHS tapes, with like 2 or 3 movies on each one. And I know we had them growing up. I never did watch them, so I'm kind of excited. It was a good reminder of like, oh yes, I need to watch those movies. So,
but here's the problem: to collect all these movies, you have to go to different labels. Like I think the original Death Wish is still with Warner Brothers. Death Wish 2 now with Vinegar Syndrome. Death Wish 3 Scorpion, and I have no idea where 4. And I don't remember if there is a 5 or not. Where there
is a 5.
But I don't know, man. This is like Psycho Cop Returns, where you are going to have people who are just discovering Death Wish 2 for the first time and are going to want to see the rest of the series, and it may or may not be difficult for them to get all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to look awesome in 4K. I can't wait to see it.
Something that I want on disc, that just reminds me of this. So, when Extra 3 came out, I'd already been aware of Extra. I just hadn't watched it yet. But I tracked down a German media book of that. And the only way that I was able to get Extra 2 was on Laserdisc. And I still haven't watched that freaking movie. I want a good release of that so I have a Laserdisc player, but it broke, unfortunately. So
the thing is, none of the Extra movies are really connected to each other. There's sequels in name.
Yeah, I obviously could tell with 3 that there was no connect there, but I love Extra though. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I thought that was a fantastic movie. Extra 3 I think sucks, just for the record. Not a good movie.
It does. Extra was one of those movies from back in the day that I rented just because of the box. The cover was so sweet for that one. It was like, you must rent me. You must rent me right now. And that's the one thing I like about owning videos, because the cover of that was so good. I wish when you rented videos you would get that cover with it instead of the translucent case. Speaking of translucent cases, did you guys order that?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, we're probably all 3 proud owners of that, right?
I did not. I missed it. I totally missed it.
No, you can still get it today, can't you?
You probably can. I want to. Yeah, you probably can. I don't know what they're going to send you.
Okay, look, there's no defending it. But that's ultimately why I got it, because I'm like, well, I don't want everyone else to get this cool little stupid piece of shit and me not have it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right.
I mean, it's going to be something for sure. Will it be worth $6? Who knows?
You know what? It
Free
might
shipping,
be.
though.
It might be. It might be a new pressing of Executioner Part 2 that everyone who gets that gets it for $6 on 4K. And then I will be on the. I'm gonna have to order it now. So fuck.
They're just like, thanks for trusting us. Here's don't get my hopes up. That's a hard crash back down to reality when I open it up. It's just like a little button.
Yeah.
Well, it could be a cool button. I guess I shouldn't say that like it's negative, but
Yeah.
All right, Flesh Eaters. I have never heard of this movie.
Same. And I saw that it's a. I'm sure it's not related, but it's a Living Dead movie, and I noticed that that main guy in there, that's on the cover, that zombie, is the same zombie in the first Night of the Living Dead, who's like first coming down the hill, I think.
Yes, from the original Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because the director, this movie was directed by actor and cinematographer Bill Hinsman from The Crazies. And stars zombie in the class. I think it was directed by the guy who played that zombie.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I've never seen this. I am thinking this is going to be a really bad movie in 4K. But based on the cover, it looks just sleazy and gory as heck.
Yeah. The screenshots of the gore looks pretty top notch, but yeah, as far as the movie itself goes, I have no idea.
Hey, Brian, have you seen it?
No.
Yeah, this is compared to other months. This is the first time I have not seen 3 of the 4 releases. Like I've never heard of, what the fuck is it called? Alien Private Eye. And I don't know how I never heard of it.
I had heard of it just because of, the YouTube channel Red Letter Media. They did I think it was a best of the worst episode on that one. But
How could a movie called Alien Private Eye be anywhere near the category of the worst? This movie has 2 things that I really like: aliens and private eyes.
Sold.
It looks pretty incredible just from the pictures, but
I haven't even had a chance to look at any of the screenshots or anything that they've posted. So,
speaking of screenshots they probably won't post are for the 4K release of Stiff Competition.
I'm probably going to pass on that one, but I just lied. I did look at the shots from that, because isn't it like, it looks like it's like a blowjob competition in a boxing ring?
Yeah. or since
actually, I don't know. Now that I say it out loud, I'm probably totally going to buy that movie.
Brian, since we are recording this during WrestleMania weekend, it's a blowjob contest inside the squared circle.
The squared circle?
That's what
I know nothing about.
That's what the rest. You're from the South. Wrestling should be like wrestling and NASCAR should be a religion to you.
I've been placed in the South, Robert. It's not my choice.
Well, it's interesting. I live in Washington D.C., and I live in the South that the Mason-Dixon line is Frederick, Maryland, which explains why there are Waffle Houses in Frederick, Maryland, and none in D.C. So I have learned that
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I've learned that I'm a Southerner now. Yeehaw!
Welcome. Yeah. No, I never did hop onto the wrestling thing, like even as a kid. But I do have a lot of friends. There's actually, come to think of it, there's still some of my buddies, and they tried to get me into it many times, and I'm just like, it's not my thing. But they get together all the time and just do shrooms and watch wrestling, and they love it. I don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Never could get into it myself.
I don't see that being enjoyable now. I mean, there's no like fantastical characters on it anymore. It's just guys in tights.
Look,
I don't know if shrooms would make that better or not.
This is not a wrestling show, but I will say AEW every Wednesday night on TBS is 2 hours of the best wrestling you'll ever see, and then Major League Wrestling, which you can find on YouTube. But either here nor there. What do you guys think of what partner label releases are you guys interested in this month?
I watched Michael Keane kind of go through these and talk about them. I didn't look too far into them, but from what I saw, the Mother Schmuckers looked kind of interesting.
Yeah, I passed on that one.
Yeah. They look like people. And I was actually really interested. I don't get into a lot of documentaries, but this Beauty Day about what was the name of his show? The Cap and Video Show. It was like before like Tom Green and Jackass. This guy in Canada was doing kind of that thing, and I remember seeing like when I first got onto like YouTube like years and years ago, like clips of that show were popping up, and I was like, wow, this guy was like doing this before, like because when I was growing up, Tom Green and Jackass were huge. So getting on YouTube and seeing that this guy was doing it beforehand, I thought was really interesting. And then I saw that this documentary was about that, so I'm pretty interested in that one. I'll get that one for sure.
Yeah, I ordered that one as well. I think that one looks amazing.
I feel like I've watched They Look Like People, and I don't remember being very pleased with it, but I could be wrong. I have to go check on that, but I'm pretty sure I watched that one before.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, go ahead.
That one did not interest me at all.
They Look Like People, you're saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think the Jan Gonzalez one is probably a good one to get.
Which one
if you
is
liked
that?
He's the one who directed Knife and Heart.
Oh.
And then they just put a bunch of his like first movie on here, they put, and then a bunch of shorts.
I don't know. I last week I watched Hellaware from Factory 25, and I felt ripped off from that. Like, it was not a good movie. But so I think I'm gonna stick with the movies that are so bad they're good, like Wicked World and Video Murders. And
See, I've got Wicked World, and I get why they don't do it, but I wish, like in a I don't know what term I was going for. I wish you had the option of just buying the slipcover. Again, I understand why they don't.
Oh, was Wicked World already?
I don't feel it.
Was that already?
Yeah, it's just been out of print for a while.
Oh shit! I didn't know that. That means the inevitable Bat Pussy release is coming out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Wicked World is one of, in my opinion, that's one of the more bonkers movies you'll ever see.
Yeah,
the director is insane.
I did not pick it up. And another one I did not pick up, but I think I'm going to order it, is the Other Music documentary from Factory 25. When I lived in New York, I shopped at Other Music all the time, and I spent a shitload of money there, and it was a great store, and I'm interested in seeing the documentary on it. And last thing is the Canadian label that's been out. Canadian International Pictures. I got their first two releases, and the other French New Wave Cinema stuff is fantastic. So I don't know if the Mob is any good, but I'm going to pick it up, and if it's not, then I'll just do a title-by-title basis from them. And yeah. I think Fun City, after their last release, is going to be the same way, that I don't need to collect everything they do because the last release was so fucking bad.
I was keeping up with them, and I wasn't able to after a while. I had to stop, unfortunately. But what was the last one they released?
Blitus.
Yeah, so I don't have that one.
It was from the photographer who has done bad things in his past. I wish, after I heard that, I wish I could have canceled it, but I didn't. Then I watched the movie, and it was unwatchable. Unwatchable
because of what you
know. It was too artsy for me.
Yeah.
There's a point where, like, what was that movie where Robin Williams was in heaven? Dreams May Come. I think that's.
Oh, What Dreams May Come. Yeah.
Yeah. That was too artsy for me. And it was a really bad
I actually
movie.
liked that one. I get what you're saying, though. It is a little. I'm kind of the same way. I guess we just have different lines, but I'm all about an art house film, but there's a certain point where it's just like, oh my God. Kind of like I said, Scary at 61st was almost teetering on that for me. Almost.
The Scary of 61st was a good movie, co-written and directed by someone who is really pretentious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about oh, sorry, Robert. What do you guys think about in the groups that we're in? I keep seeing everyone's like really leaning towards Saturn's Core as being their favorite partner label now. What do you guys think about like the shot on video kind of stuff?
I'm a sucker for them. I'm burned by them a lot, I'll be honest, but there's still something Like what was it sorority sisters? Was that what it was called? Or,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just some of them are borderline unbearable. I mean, I'll just be honest, but there's just something about those movies that I gravitate towards. I think it's mostly, now that I'm talking about it, you have to go through some rough ones, but when you find the diamonds, it's I think it's worth it, you know.
Mhm.
I would recommend for people personally, and you know, if it's not really much of your thing, if you're not a sucker for those kinds of movies, I think it's a label that you could just go based on recommendations, because some of them are definitely more outlandish and I think will appeal to a wider audience.
But
Some of them are just so slow.
but Brian, aren't all of the Saturn's core from that one company that was in the documentary Mail Order Ma'am?
See, unfortunately, I have not picked up that first release yet, so I don't really know the whole background. If that's what you're saying, I don't know much about the company other than what they release. You know.
Gotcha. Because I've seen a lot of shot on video back in the day, and some of it's good, some of it is piss poor, and most of the ones released by Saturn's Core, unfortunately, is piss poor. Like they're unwatchable. But I think, what's that new label called that's releasing two shot on video movies?
Man, I actually wanted to look that up before I hopped on. I can't remember what they're called.
But it's interesting. I went looking. I got this book from Bleeding Skull about shot on video movies in the '90s, and the first one, what the fuck is it called? The Beach movie.
The Beach movie.
Bloody muscle bodybuilder in hell. In the Necrophiles. Like, that one wasn't even in. I don't know why I called it a beach movie, because I guess muscle bodybuilder. That one wasn't even listed in the Bleeding Skull book from Visual Vengeance, who I'm guessing is not going to be a partner label because Orbit Video has them featured prominently on their page. But it looks like these guys are just going all out and making these shot on video movies look spectacular. Like,
if I recall too, like the packaging and stuff on those is pretty extensive, right? Like, doesn't it come with a bunch of little goodies, or am I incorrect?
No, you're correct. So yes, Visual Vengeance will be a label that I think all of us will be checking out. Plus, you can't go wrong with a movie called The Necrophiles.
Yeah,
That's true.
But you know what movie you can go wrong with is a movie called Dead Heat.
Boo. To you, not to the movie. Boo.
So I'm going to give you my. Actually, why don't you guys talk about it, and then actually, you know what? I'm going to give you my review first, and it's just it's two simple. It's actually one sentence. This movie ruined buddy cop films and zombie films for nearly a generation.
Oh, that seems unfair.
I gotta go.
It's unfair that the director of this was actually given 2 other directing assignments afterwards for the Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie and 1 episode of Erie, Indiana.
All right.
Both classics.
I love Erie, Indiana. But that said, this movie has a really good premise, and a director who didn't know who was just really paint by numbers and did a very basic job, and script writers who didn't go in depth. In fact, you can see a better version of this movie it was aired on the show iZombie, which aired on the CW for 5 seasons.
This is going to be one of those episodes.
You ain't gonna bring me down, Robert. I had a hell of a good time.
No. All right, let's talk about it. Then I will go in with my issues on a point by point basis.
Okay, I like that.
So let's go with the plot. 2 cops stumble into a robbery with zombies and then get caught up in a corporate a corporation that is doing evil things by turning people into zombies. That is pretty much the plot. You know who the villain is right away because they telegraph it pretty fast. And Treat Williams walks around like he's going, what the fuck did I do to end up in a movie like this? And Joe Piscopo looking like, this is my comeback.
Joe Piscopo just reminded me of like a really buff Shooter McGavin. That's all I kept thinking when I was watching it. I was like, eh.
Joe Piscopo's character should have been fired from the police department many times during this movie. He's a guy who would be canceled today with the way he talks about women.
You know, this one kind of like, I don't know if it's as crazy, but I kept like finding myself thinking about American Rickshaw in the way of just like, man, this movie has so much going on. You know, it's a buddy cop movie, like he says, a zombie movie, it's a comedy, it's an action. Like, there's so much. I think it's easier to follow because it's very simple than American Rickshaw. American Rickshaw, I still can't wrap my head around that insanity.
I think,
but I don't know. I think because of that familiarity almost of every genre in there, it's just kind of, I think, taking like the best of every world and incorporating it into one film. I think that's why I enjoyed it so much. Is it's just such an easy watch. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but it was very appealing to me in that way of like, oh man, this is a little bit of everything. And I didn't really expect any kind of complex thought, you know, or anything behind it, or any kind of depth really, you know, just sort of, let's just tune everything out and just have some fun.
Just out of curiosity, Brian, how old were you the first time you saw it?
Saw Dead Heat?
Yeah.
I just saw it upon release, man.
Okay.
Like this Blu-ray, yeah.
Gotcha. What about you, Matt?
I was probably, I remember seeing it as a little kid. So I'm going to say maybe 10. Completely forgot about it. Saw it again when I was maybe 30 and still enjoyed it. And then yesterday.
Okay. I saw it. I did not see it in the theater. I saw it on VHS, like many people did back in the day, or on cable. I can't remember which. And here's the thing. Back when I saw it originally, I was so excited about this movie. Because back then, and kind of still am, I was a huge Saturday Night Live fan. And back in the Eddie Murphy years, Joe Piscopo was the second funniest person on that show. And then somehow he just fell to the wayside. And he had some brilliant roles like with Michael Keaton and Johnny Dangerously. And then at some point he became a parody of himself. And that's the issue I have. I think single-handedly Joe Piscopo helped make this movie bad, just with his over-the-top performance.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree that he's probably the weakest part of it, but there was still just something about his character that's just like, yeah, he's just the dumb, goofy cop sidekick kind of guy that I still kind of enjoyed. You are not going to bring me down on this one, Robert.
I don't
Stand strong. Matt, be strong.
I love the fact that you guys love this movie so much, which is why I was really excited to give it a second look.
So I had a similar thought when we first talked about it. I talked about how much I remember liking it, and you were talking about how bad it was. So when we were going to talk about it, I was like, I'm going to watch this again. Maybe Robert's right. Maybe I was like, not watching it in the way that I should have. And I watched it again, and I loved it this time even more than the last time. And I came away thinking like, oh, Robert's going to watch this in 4K, and his mind's going to change.
Well, to be fair, I got myself in the mood. I watched it on Monday night. I took some edibles. I actually went and got some beer, and I put myself in the state of mind.
You
as if I
really
was-
tried. You don't even drink, do you?
I rarely do, but I actually had someone gave me some beer, so I had some.
That's just how much he hates this. He's like, I'm gonna get fucking loaded.
No,
He's gonna be.
I wanted to figure out what it would have been like to watch this in 1988 if I had all these vices around me, and to see if I would enjoy it more. And as someone who's a writer for a living and a performer, all the problems with it just multiplied. And a lot of it is with the script, and a lot of it was with the director. And again, I think there's a brilliant movie in here. It's just they needed to think about some of the characters' motivations, like Lindsay Frost. I didn't know which side she was on.
Which character is she?
She's the blonde that hung out with. She's the public relations for the company.
Okay.
But
Maybe her character was just written so well that you just couldn't figure it out. Dun dun dun.
I'm gonna say, Slam Dance was a better written film than, or Slash Dance was a better written film than Dead Heat, and it was a terrible movie.
I feel like you said there, the idea of the story is, I think, really, really good. I do think there are a couple spots in the movie. It may not be that they were written well, but just the concept of them was such a good concept that I really enjoyed them. Like the end scene when he gets his revenge on the guy who did it to him. I don't remember that happening for some reason, and when it happened, I was like, "Oh, that is hilarious."
But again, it's why when the CW adapted the Vertigo comic iZombie, it had more of a relation to Dead Heat than it did to the actual comic.
Maybe he was a huge fan.
Probably. I mean, it
Like
was
all of us.
It was not all of us. It was the guy who created Veronica Mars. So he's of the right age where he probably saw this on HBO back in the day and had it seep into the back of his memory of a corporation creating zombies.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't remember. Did the corporation give a reason why they were doing that? Oh, to give people immortality.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got Vincent Price playing fucking Walt Disney. You're rich. You're supposed to live forever.
Mhm.
Poor people die. They don't have to. Yeah.
What kind of living is that, though?
Oh, well, I mean, we as an audience know it's a terrible decision, but I don't know. He
Well,
didn't really
it
sell
seemed
it
like
very well to begin with.
it seemed like
No one
towards
in
the
that
end
room
when
wanted it.
when he was doing his speech that they had kind of like perfected it, and he was saying like you can live in your state now for like 1,000,000 years or whatever. But yeah, it seemed like the experiment that Treat Williams got was like a unfinished product or whatever.
Oh yeah, he was falling apart.
Yeah.
I love
I'm gonna make a
I
metaphor.
love-
Let me rephrase it. He was falling apart, just like his career was at this time. And here's the thing: I think Treat Williams was a brilliant actor. If you ever saw Prince of the City, which is available from Warner Archives, you will see this guy at the top of his career, and then he started slowly falling away. And I think the last thing I saw him was a Showtime series called, I think, Going to California, where he played a sheriff in one episode.
Yeah, I don't think this movie can be blamed for that.
I know. I think his career was already in the downward spiral. I think he caught the Piscopo curse while filming.
I love the deterioration of the Randy character. I like the practical effects in this. I thought were really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll give it the practical effects were great, and they were used for some good comedic action, for some good comedy. But I wish this movie had at least one or two more rewrites.
Am I the only one who during the butcher shop scene I just kept thinking about Sledgehammer by Peter Gabriel?
Was that song released in '88?
Oh, I don't know. That would be very interesting if it was.
Because I think somebody should go and re-edit Dead Heat and add that song in there. Because if they did, I would give the movie a little bit of a higher rating. See, it's like choices like that makes a movie better and a little bit more memorable.
Yeah.
I think we'd be remiss if we did not talk about Darren McGavin's character.
I love Darren McGavin.
I do too. I'm a huge fan of the Night Stalker. I love his appearances on the X-Files, basically as the character on the Night Stalker.
Yeah.
He's a really good actor. And he seemed to be having a lot of fun with this movie to the point where he hammed it up a little bit too much. Like, again, a good director would have said, hey, let's dial it back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because of his overacting, I think he telegraphed that he was one of the main villains of the movie.
Yeah, I can see that. One thing that I noticed this time that I never noticed before, because I just had like a DVD of it with a real crappy picture, but like watching it the first time, like you discover that he's wearing a toupee, and that's like a big reveal in the movie. But this time on 4K, it's like first time he's on screen, you just see that thing plopped on there and real shittily pasted down. And it's like, oh, this quality kind of gives that little reveal away.
I was going to ask you guys about the quality of the 4K. I didn't get to, I just had to watch the Blu-ray, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
It looks, 4K
I think
good?
It looks fantastic. Yeah.
I think all of Vinegar Syndrome's 4Ks have been looking really good. And I want to talk about one kind of right after this, after we talk about this movie.
Did you guys jump into any of the extra features at all?
So this is the problem with 4Ks. There are no extra features really on the disc. So and
you got to get up and switch it.
I don't want to do that. So I did not watch any of the extra.
Yeah,
features.
This was the first one that I went through the entire list of features on there. It's pretty interesting stuff in there.
I did that with Flashdance.
Okay, nice. There was a I'll just say some of them. There was a deleted scene at the end. Remember in the movie they were talking about how cool it would be to like have a death day party.
Mm-hmm.
There was a deleted scene at the end where they walk through that white light and they're walking into like a surprise death day party, and it's just got like a bunch of characters from the movie, and there's a like big cake that a skeleton stripper pops out of, and it's the kind of like puppetry where there's like a person completely dressed in black, and they're just like, you can like see them moving, but you're still knowing that they are controlling the puppet. And apparently that was Linnea Quigley that was doing it.
Oh, wow.
Puppeteer.
Nice.
What else? Yeah, I thought it was interesting. The director, this was I believe his first time directing a movie. He was an editor, and he was like the editor for like Terminator, like all of these like big budget movies. And then somehow he said this got thrown into my lap, and they asked if I wanted to direct it, and I was like, sure.
And as someone who's an editor on like James Cameron movies and other big ones, he should have picked up better directing skills.
Yeah.
I'm glad that that he's getting his moment where this movie is getting released, but you have to look at 2 movies, 1 episode of the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he realized that he wasn't that good of a director?
He might have, yeah, he might have. um, yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, it was a severely small budget apparently, so it's. I mean, I was pleased with the outcome. I guess it was originally meant to be like a this. So this movie was an R rating, and apparently they had to do tons and tons of cuts to get it down to an R rating. So the director was talking about like, the movie that we wanted to put out greatly suffered from all the cuts we had to make. And I was like, wow, what
So
what was in there?
this is something I wish that Vinegar Syndrome would do. Is like, all right, we hear this a lot where the studio force cuts. Maybe it would be interesting if VSP would go in and re-edit the movie the way they intended and re-release it, because that, I mean, like Date or Heaven's Gate was basically lambasted as one of the worst movies and cinema disasters ever filmed. But when the director's cut came out, the reviews were like, "This is one of the best movies ever made." And I think a lot of movies could, get a second look if the budget was put in to go back and do what the director originally intended. Again, same thing. The Snyder cut for Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Masterpiece.
yeah, it was the best superhero movie ever. So
Yeah, I would definitely buy this again as a director's cut. I mean, he's still alive. I'm sure he probably has a lot of that footage still.
unless the studio owns it and they just have done they discarded it years ago because it was a flop.
Because you told them to.
Here's the thing: if I ran a studio, I think the premise of Dead Heat is great. I would say turn it into a series of movies. I mean, think about it. It could have been the Bad Boys of Zombie Cops.
Yeah.
And it could have also, I mean, here's the thing: both characters were single. It would have been interesting to say how they dealt with their families that they're zombies now. Kind of like what was the Drew Barrymore show that was on the Santa Clarita Diet? Yeah.
Yep.
Like there have been interesting things done with zombies, and they just barely scratched the surface.
Mm-hmm. There was one part of this movie that I thought, I'll admit the writing not that great, but there was one part of this with Treat Williams' character that I thought was cool, and it's like when he's alive, he's kind of just some stuck-up guy wearing a suit, doesn't seem like happy in his life, and it's when he dies that he seems like he really like opens up, becomes kind of like he's like acting like, yeah, I feel great, like all this stuff. And then that goes on through the movie. And then at the part where he takes the ambulance and crashes it, and he comes out like, more dead, I'll say. And it's like, that's when he's like at his best, his like hair spiked up. He's like, flesh is hanging off his ear like an earring, and he just looks like punk rock. And I thought that was like really cool for that character. Like death is what makes this guy feel alive.
But I mean that's what's true for most people when they find out they're dying. This is like, all right, I gotta live now.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, look, I am very glad Vinegar Syndrome released it because I forgot the movie even existed until they announced it.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely not, in my opinion, not one of their best releases. I'm going to give it 2 Dead Buddy Cops.
I mean, I get that it's pretty. I think it's like, I don't know, Robert. I get everything that you're saying, and it all makes sense. I guess it's just hard for me to like not just see it for what I think it was, which was just. I think this is a good one for like a general audience. Like, take someone who's not really into these movies. And they're like, hey, show me something like really fun from the 80s. I think this one just kind of like takes everything and just rolls it into a little, 82-minute ball of awesomeness.
I can tell you there are better horror comedies from the 80s that I would show people before Dead Heat. Now,
Well, I'm sure there are. I just, I think this is a good one.
What about better horror buddy comedies? Buddy cop comedies?
I would say the best horror buddy film is Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, okay.
But
Or buddy cop comedy though.
there has to be more. I'm going to do some research for next week's episode. So Brian, how many dead buddy cops would you give this movie?
Can we go to 10, Robert?
You know what?
Can we go
Why
to
not?
10?
We go to
No,
11.
I'm just
We go to 11.
Does your score
No, I'm
still
just-
stay 2 if we do?
No, honestly, I do. I give it 5. I know it has its issues, but it's not enough to just, I don't know. It wasn't enough to ruin it for me. And like, even the things that you kind of want to, laugh at or cringe at a little bit, I just think kind of add to the charm of it. I think that's what ultimately, I think this is a very charming movie, and I enjoy it for that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going top tier.
And
Nice.
Matt, what about you?
I'm gonna go just a step under that and go 4.5. I told you guys it's gonna be few and far between for me to do a 5-star, but kind of the same stuff Brian was saying. It's, for me, it doesn't have to be a, greatly made film for me to have it at the top of my list and really enjoy it. Like, one of my favorite movies is Roadhouse. Like, that's not a great movie, but it's a movie I can watch over and over again. It's a movie that, I just enjoy putting it on. My wife watched this one. That's a rare occurrence.
What did she think of it?
Well, she liked it for starters because of the 4K quality. Some of the ones I've made her watch don't look that great, so she's not into that. But she kind of just liked that it was kind of like a lighthearted, I think there were a lot of parts that were funny. I think to me it's just like a funny, buddy cop, have a good time, and it's got, to me, I think it has really good visual effects in it. I really enjoyed those. And it's one that, unlike a lot of them that we watch, I'll watch again. I'll just put it on and have it on and come walk in the room and see a good part and, go back to what I was doing. So to me, it's a 4.5.
I wish I liked it as much as you guys did, and when I went back and rewatched it, I was hoping that I would.
Yeah. Were there any parts that you guys like laughed out loud at?
Yeah. One in particular, towards the end, whenever he's going in, to destroy everything, excuse me. When he came across security guards that were also dead, and they would get into like shoot offs, just their whole demeanor, their stance, and their faces, they're just shooting fucking Uzis at one another for entirely too long. And it was just so funny.
I thought that part was hilarious.
Here's the biggest question I have is, if you're an evil corporation with more money than most people, why would you put your evil doings in your corporate headquarters?
It's a what is that called? When like mob companies do that, and it's like a laundromat up front, but behind it's
called a front.
Yeah, that easy to remember word. They were just doing that.
But they weren't a front. They were a scientific company that made billions and billions of dollars, probably from government contracts.
Probably.
But it's like in Kingsman: The Secret Service, Sam Jackson's character had his evil lair where everything was not connected to what his actual day-to-day company, even though his actual day-to-day company manufactured the chips that made everyone into mindless zombies to kill each other while the rich people stayed safe.
Yeah.
Again, I'm glad Vinegar Syndrome released it. I'm glad. I just wish I came to my senses and liked it as much as you guys did. And like Synapse came to their senses and pulled the release of Thriller.
That they did.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, nice. All right.
Yeah.
Why say that? Like, Score.
Like
I just didn't know that.
just a couple days after Vinegar Syndrome announced the exact specs for their disc, Synapse just pulled it from Amazon, their own store. Pretty much every online retailer no longer has it, and I regret not buying it now because it is a collector's item.
Mm.
Same, yeah. I've seen people post it, and I'm sure the price is just going to get jacked up on eBay to unimaginable heights.
Until May.
Yeah.
Until May, yeah.
Speaking of eBay prices, I hopped on last night just to see if I could get the Vice Academy trilogy back in my collection for a fair price. It's insane out there, my friends. It is insane.
Now, are you just trying to get the Vinegar Syndrome package or just the movies?
Well, no, I was gonna hopefully get the VSA, but if the price doesn't change, I'm just gonna give up on that. I mean, I felt bad selling mine for 100 a few weeks ago. That freaking movie is going for like at least $200. It's insanity. I get if you know what you got, there's nothing wrong with it. Sell a movie for however much you want to. But there is a point where it's just like, I couldn't do that. I could not, number one, ask someone for that much money. Number two, I could not pay that. There's too many things I want. I did end up, however, finding a completely off topic, but I found the Second Sight limited edition release of When a Stranger Calls. So I'm stoked to get that.
Is it region free?
You know what? I'm not sure. I have an all region player. So
I'm so close to buying one, but I don't want to because I know I will buy more.
Yeah,
I know what you mean, but man, I'm honestly, I don't mean this like in a bad way. I'm just surprised you don't already, because I mean, as much as you buy, there's some really cool Region B editions and stuff.
Oh, I know. And again, that I've purposely not bought one just because I would spend a ton more. Like I have a budget for these movies, and it's like just a couple $100 a month. And last few months, I haven't even hit what my budget was.
Yeah,
which I'm happy about.
Yeah,
but no, I got to be picky. And first of all, I don't have time to watch everything. And all right, so during COVID, it was a blessing because I was able to get caught up on a lot of the discs that remained unopened in my collection. And now I'm back to the point where I was, where it's like I have a stack of stuff for the last 8 to 10 months that I have not even opened yet.
So
yeah.
I used COVID as the opportunity to get back into collecting. So I've just been gathering since then.
But gathering, the point is, you got to watch.
I know. That's why I like doing this. It's finally making me open some of these up.
Yeah, agreed. There's something I want to talk about before we end, and I'm guessing we all do this when we watch films. We create the perfect double feature, like you had Beware the Children and House of the Devil, which I think is Ty West's best movie, by the way.
Oh, that's a great movie.
How do you determine what movies you watch back to back? Do you guys go with a theme, or do you find?
I'll be honest. It's. Oh, go ahead.
Something that loosely connects both movies.
I generally, it's pretty rare for me to pair things in that manner. I'm more of just whatever mood I'm in. I mean, like if it's me and my wife watching stuff together, there's really no thought that goes into it at all. We just kind of go back and forth on who picks what. Like if I pick something to watch tonight, she'll pick tomorrow night, whatever. But when pairing stuff, like, if she's at work and I have time to watch a couple like back to back, I really just basically do it by going over my shelves and just picking off what I haven't watched. It's not themed, I guess, in any way.
Normally, I try to find something that connects the two. Like one actor makes an appearance in both movies, or a song is used. But on Friday, I came home from having two horrendous bombs at comedy shows, and I needed to pick me up. So I put an X-ray just to see how it looked in 4K. And I'm gonna sound really juvenile right now. Like Barbie Benton's boobs look great in 4K. And it's a ridiculous movie. Have you guys seen it yet?
Yeah,
No,
Yeah.
it's been a while. I don't have the VS release, but I have seen it. It's just been been a while.
Do you still have the good Shout Factory release?
Yeah, I do.
That's all you need. That's all you need. So I was going to do a double feature of that movie and Society from Arrow, because
Yeah.
the guy who played the dad in Society is a doctor in X-ray. But when I went to my shelf, and sitting next to it was Phantom of the Paradise, and I haven't watched that movie in years, and oh my god, it was so fucking good. It was like I've never been happier with a double feature of X-ray and Phantom of the Paradise.
Wasn't that released by Arrow?
There was an Arrow version. I have the Shout Factory.
Okay.
And if that's out of print, I'm probably going to have the Vinegar Syndrome one in about a year. But I don't know.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
You've never seen Phantom of the Paradise?
I'm looking it up to see if I have.
I haven't either. I'm aware of it. I just haven't seen it.
Oh my god, it's Brian De Palma's third best movie. And if we're going to say it's his best musical, yeah, because it is.
Okay, so
Okay.
I have not seen this, but this looks pretty awesome.
It is awesome. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Nice.
And I really feel bad that I never heard of it until Harry Knowles kept on writing about it on Ain't It Cool. Remember there was a point in time where Harry Knowles wasn't canceled?
You saying musical just reminded me, speaking of stuff I haven't watched yet, I've had a copy of I think it's called Lore that Criterion put out a while back. It's like I can't remember, huh?
I haven't seen that one.
It looks like visually cool. It kind of, I'm hoping it's going to be like a horror kind of musical thing. It's these two sisters who are mermaids, and I just remember watching the trailer, and they're just like laying around like doing a bunch of drugs and shit with all these other kind of like mystical creatures and singing songs. Anyway, my wife loves musicals, so I could probably just lure her in that way. Like, hey, here's a musical. Oh, yay!
Then you should watch Repo the Genetic Opera.
I've never seen that.
That is a good one.
Yeah, I've heard it's fantastic. I just never got around to it.
It is a good one. So I think we're going to announce our movie for next week. We're going to go with the recent theatrical release. We're going to talk about X.
Very excited.
I'm excited.
Is it still in theaters? Because I might actually want to go and check it out again.
It's still playing at the AMC theaters here.
Okay. Nice.
But
yeah, I think I'm going to go see it tomorrow.
I'm jealous.
Will that be your first watch, Matt?
Yep. Yeah, I tried to get out this past week to do it and just couldn't get out.
Well, and when we talk about it, we are going to talk about the genius of Mia Goth.
Okay. Mia
Goth,
okay.
We're going to talk about how, as an actress, she is a chameleon. I did not recognize that she was in. I did not recognize her from Suspiria.
Mm-hmm.
But join us next week as we talk about X and maybe which Vinegar Syndrome adult title would pair well with it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you'll definitely, I think, own us on that one. But I do.
That I don't know, because I want to find something from right around that time. I would like it to be another adult film released in '79, which will take time for me to go through their catalog and figure out which movie that is, and hopefully it's not a Tobalina film.
I'm excited.
All right.
Yeah.
Before we go, any last thoughts? Anything else you want to talk about? Any other films? Anything else you saw this week?
You're dead wrong about Dead Heat. It's an amazing movie. Everyone should watch it. Fuck you, Robert. Yeah, that's all I got. I'm just kidding. Love you.
I don't know if Robert froze or
No,
No, he's angry. He's angry.
No, I'm not
He's
angry.
buying a ticket to Tennessee right now. He's gonna kill me.
Look, Brian, I would drive to Tennessee. So after I killed you, I would go to Grindhouse Video and say to the owner, mission accomplished. He won't be staring in the windows anymore. So, Brian, I have to ask, when that store finally opens, are you going to be customer number one inside?
Well, I hope to be, Robert. No,
And has
I'm going to go at my earliest convenience. That's obviously, you know.
And has your wife given you special spending permissions for that day?
No,
We'll,
she hasn't.
we'll figure out a way for you to ask her next week.
No,
Robert, since you,
she's very.
oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say she is very kind towards my collecting habits. Yeah, she doesn't judge. So
I was going to say, Robert, since you disliked this movie so much, what do you think would be a good pairing with it to either make this movie seem better or soften the blow, or however you look at it?
Wow, that's a good question. God, I would probably pair it with Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
Nothing from Vinegar Syndrome's library, I think, would pair well with it. But I think that's also because this movie isn't what was once considered a typical Vinegar Syndrome release, and I think I need to get it through my head is that the company that I started collecting movies from at this point in time no longer really exists.
Right.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because I think we began a lot of really bad movies. Not saying that Dead Heat was a good movie, but I think there's a good, if you have a good mixture of studio, like big budget, low budget studio films with name actors, to some of the stuff that Vinegar Syndrome releases, like Alien, Private Eye. I think that's what will make for a stronger company, where you have the weird and the commercial weird.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that like this Drop Dead Fred kind of stuff might be better suited in, some kind of offshoot, kind of like a VSA but not VSA kind of thing. I don't know.
I think what they should do is just create a label for this called VSBO, for Vinegar Syndrome Box Office, and make it look like the old HBO logo, because that's what this is, and it's really going towards this nostalgia market. And look, I think nostalgia is great, but it's also the worst drug that you can be addicted to, because if you're just constantly going, oh, movies were better back in the 80s, music was better back in the 80s, you're missing a shitload of good stuff.
I did have a business idea last night. I was watching a movie with a buddy, and we always just pick whatever kind of looks like it's going to be the worst movie ever, at random. So we chose one from 2018 called Flight 666. Okay.
Oh God.
And yeah, so when we were watching it, I was telling my buddy, I was like, I think, Vinegar Syndrome should get into a business where you take these movies, and when they get to their absolute worst point, Vinegar Syndrome scoops in and turns it into a porno. And I think it would be amazing. Just wait for it to peak of like, it can't get any worse than this. Then next thing you know, porn.
Oh yeah, that is Caligula the Untold Story. I had no idea that was porn. No idea.
That was the Severn release, right?
Yeah. Oh, by the way,
is it worth getting?
Stone is worth getting.
Okay.
I'm surprised you had never seen that, Robert.
What?
Caligula.
Caligula, the lost story or the untold story?
Are they two different things?
There's
Oh.
a Caligula movie that was directed, put out by Penthouse, and then there were the rip-off Caligula movies, like Caligula the Untold Story, and another one
Okay.
that came in there. And I knew Caligula had inserts put in to make it an adult film,
Mhm.
but this movie didn't. It was part of the script. It was.
So we rented that movie when we were kids at this video store up the road, and we also did not know that that it had inserts, and that was very surprising at a young age.
Best day ever.
In Caligula, it's not even good.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty quick, but and it made it look like it was the actors that were doing it. That's what pissed a lot of the actors off from it. But yeah, Caligula. I think the original Caligula is pretty much an unwatchable film. It's bad. It's bad. I mean, it's almost Solo bad, but it doesn't make you feel as disgusted as you were when you watched Solo, 120 Days of Sodom. But all right, and join us next week where we talk about X and try to figure out what VS porno that we would pair up with the movie they were making, The Farmer's Daughter.
Yes.
So join us next week, and we will be back. Awesome. See you guys later.
See you guys.
See ya.